Hey guys, this week's podcast features Chef Brad Rowell, Sous Chef at Park Country Club. Brad came down, talked about the start of his career, working in big cities, craft beer, and how he ended up back in Buffalo. Let's get to it.
When I was looking at your resume, like you have a lot of, like I'd say more traditional restaurants. You've worked in like a couple of Michelin star places in Denver and New York City. How is it like a Friday night at a country club though? Like, is it a different beast?
It's very busy. It's probably, I mean, yeah, it's so much busier that on a Friday night there than it is like most other nights.
Okay.
Especially for just the line. We do banquets and those are very busy and you know, big. Like the operation is intense, but like Friday night on like the line there is when it's like really, it feels like it's like 15 times busier than like anywhere else, like on any other night.
Yeah.
I mean, tonight wasn't even that busy and it was still pretty intense.
It must get pretty. Like I saw James' picture of the Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Like prep list.
Exactly.
Like, are those just holidays? Like just like
that's not it. That's just like the whole summer looks like that. Like it's pretty like it's just like it's a lot of management. You know, it's a lot of organization.
Yeah.
I mean, I've learned a lot from the job. Just with the organization and like the
logistics of it. Almost?
Logistics. I never really did any banquets ever.
Yeah.
It was mostly small restaurants. You know, probably like under 60 seats for the most part.
Okay, yeah. This is definitely a little bigger.
Yeah, totally. I did one wedding ever. And it was for a guy who was a goalie for the Avalanche. And he was like, it was kind of like a shotgun type wedding.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And like, you know, there was like 25 people there. And like that was it. So like now, and then when I started at Park, I was like, we would do a 125 person wedding. And I was like, you know, couldn't sleep at night before. Like I was so worried about it. Now we're doing weddings for 225 and it's just like whatever. It's another wedding.
Wow.
Like, you know, we come in like we know we have the systems down. So
yeah.
You know,
that's kind of just a whole different experience.
It is. So yeah, it's a lot of organization, a lot of planning.
Yeah.
You know, like you just plan. I mean, we start planning things days out, and you know, when and restaurants just doing a la carte, it's you know, day to day more. So it's a little bit, you know. It's just a different flow. And
this is just like a Friday night, just like blow by at Park, basically.
It's nuts. I mean, it gets like, you know, we only have like a 3-person line, 1 person plating, basically.
Okay.
And when it just like when we do 200 people or 180 people with that, I mean, it's like nuts. And it's a little bit more where we basically allow them to do whatever they want. I mean, if they want to order, you know, we try not to say no to anything.
Yeah.
So that makes it even more difficult. It's not like, you know, we're like really, you know, we're running around grabbing product that's not like prepared and we're like getting it ready and organized and like, you know, so it's definitely another animal for sure.
That sounds intense.
Yeah.
I've read like Julia had that piece where she shadowed for like the 2 days or whatever.
Yep.
And I was like, holy shit. Like, cause I was thinking about it. I was like, it would be a cool thing if Buffalo Eats, if I just went and like hung out and like tried to do it for a day. And then I read that. I was like, no. Fuck it. I was like, I'll just come and like watch maybe, but I'm not going to try to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, having her there was fun for sure. But, yeah, the summers, you know, it's just, it's really
the summertime is the busy.
Yeah.
It's the busy.
Yeah. I mean, this spring, especially they were doing renovations and stuff. It was pretty mellow for the spring, but then like it just feels like everyone knows like one day it just hits and it's just like now everyone, you know, you just know everything changes, the whole attitude changes, and it's just like we gotta really turn it up. And that's just how it is though. And then it becomes like the fun part of it is like, you know, the day-to-day overcoming the challenges, you know, and completing it, and you're like, oh, we did that and it was very hard and now it's done. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's
cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So when I was doing like a little background information, recon on you, and I saw that you actually were originally a history major when you went to school.
I did that, yeah.
So you didn't grow up like actually like at 16 working in a kitchen? No.
I worked at some restaurants, but it was more like, you know, some front of the house type of stuff. Some like, bar back. Yeah. You know, like. Nothing that like if I would have hired me now, I would have fired me immediately. You know, it was like totally like just a kid's job to get like beer money. You know,
these were these in Hamburg?
Yeah, it was like I worked at Dock of the Bay.
Okay.
Just a couple other spots. Coyote Cafe.
Yeah,
I worked there for a little bit, and they were cool. A lot of cool people and stuff. A lot of nice people. Just I wasn't interested in restaurants. It was just kind of like get some money and
it's good money for a young kid.
Yeah, so I did that, and I ended up not really getting serious into restaurants until I was in Colorado.
Yeah.
For the first time, I'd lived there for 2 like 3-year stretches basically.
Oh, really?
And the first one was when I like started getting serious. And even like the history major thing, it was more like, I have to go to college. Like
I guess I got to pick something.
Yeah, I'm going to do something, and that's the only thing that really interested in me. And like, so I just did that until I found cooking, and then that was like, this is really what I want to do.
Yeah.
So
why'd you go out to Denver?
Just had friends out there, and we had some friends that were in college at University of Colorado, and so we just went out there and like took some classes, but nothing like it never really still wasn't like able to like really find like fall in love with it. I feel like, and I was really searching. I felt like I'm like I'm 20, 21, and I'm like I don't know what I want to do, and I don't want to like this isn't where I'm not going to make my life decision on something now and like never be able to change it ever again.
Yeah.
I really wanted to find something I loved.
Yeah.
So I was like resisting this whole thing. And I'm like, really resisting. I was like, this is not it. I know it's not.
So as you're like going through like the classes and everything, you're just like going through the motions.
Yeah, going through the motions completely.
Yeah.
I did like, I do enjoy history, and that's basically the extent of it.
And you can watch History Channel whenever you want.
Exactly. And then if I was maybe like academic enough, like to become like a professor, I think that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Like that lifestyle is cool, and like I think that it could be enjoyable. College campuses are fun, like like that type of stuff. But, as far as like really being like a scholar and stuff like that, really wasn't my thing. So I was working as an oyster shucker in Boulder, Colorado, at a restaurant called Jack's, and the guy that owns his name's Dave Query, and he now owns like 9 restaurants. He's opening a brewery with like a fried chicken place in the brewery. Guy's
fried
awesome.
Chicken place in a brewery.
Yeah, I mean the dude is the man. Like he is unbelievable.
That sounds like a dream.
I know, it's great. Yeah, all his concepts are all unique. Except for Jack's, the place I worked at in Boulder, he's now opened a couple other ones. There's one in Denver, opened one in Fort Collins.
Nice.
He's opened another one in Denver, but guy's great.
Yeah.
He not only is he a good businessman, but he's like really cool and like takes care of his people. Like, I mean, the whole restaurant group felt like a family. It wasn't even just like one restaurant felt like a family. It was like everybody did.
Nice.
And then the chef was that guy named Hosea Rosenberg, who he won Top Chef. Like,
that's right.
5 or 6 years later.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So he was the chef, and I looked at him and the guy that owned it, and I was like, these guys are awesome. Like their life seems really cool.
Yeah.
I was like, this seems like something I might be interested in. I was an oyster shucker. It was kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Like another job, but all my roommates were also oyster shuckers.
Oh,
so
really?
Like, we had 5 guys living in a house. We were all oyster shuckers. It was real cool. We called it the oyster frat. It was stupid, but
the oyster frat.
Yeah, the oyster frat. So like we were living here, and like like we just shucking oysters and partying. It was
were you enjoying
cool.
like the lifestyle of it, like the actual like kind of like out late, like?
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed that. Definitely, I definitely enjoyed that. But then I loved oysters. I didn't know that until I started shucking oysters, and I was like, man, I would shuck like. On some days we'd get like stuff that it was so beautiful, and I'd shuck like 6 for them, 1 for me, 12 for them, 1 for me. Like, and I was just like, this is awesome. Like, and I fell in love with oysters there.
Okay.
Like, I mean, like fully fell in love. It's probably still my favorite. Like, if I could have one kind of last meal type thing, like tons of oysters and beer, might be it.
I just recently have been eating oysters, and like they're fantastic. And I took him to the one in event. That had like the free oysters, and he got hooked.
Really?
So, yeah.
That's cool.
And it worked out really cool.
Dude. That was cool. So I like there wasn't like, especially growing up in the mid 90s, I guess here, it wasn't like there was like tons of oysters floating around the South towns.
No,
No. So
that's more of like a last 2 years, maybe 1 year
thing. Right.
That's what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's places that had them in the city and stuff like that, but like you just didn't see it as much. Now you see it a little bit more.
Unless you're going out to like Tempo, but like
18 I was not. Right. So yeah, that like that's how I kind of like saw these guys, and I was like, these guys are cool, and this is really something I would be like interested in. Mm-hmm. And then I asked Hosea if I could work in the kitchen like one day a week. I just told him we were friends, and we just would hang out, and I was like, can I just kind of see how it is? And he was cool about it, and like let me do like one day, and eventually it just led to more days, and like but I was totally, I was as green. I've never even like touched a knife. And I would like go home and like be like, someone talked about like salt crusted scallops, and I would just like cover scallops in salt and like grill them, and it was like I would literally just like, and I would eat them. I'd be like, this is horrible. I really didn't know. I just was like,
were you at all like growing up like any type of adventurous eater?
Yeah,
or, like,
I pretty much
enjoyed food.
Yeah, definitely. I ate everything, and like my brother, I have a twin brother, and he still gives me like kind of like, talks trash to me about like how I would. Everywhere we went, I ordered the most expensive thing, no matter what it was. Like no matter where we were, I was like, I just ordered the most expensive thing on the menu because I always like equated that with like the quality. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be the best thing on the menu. It's the most expensive,
Yeah,
I just did that for years. So I ate like pretty much everything. I think I never really had a time in my life that I can remember being like, oh, I'm not gonna eat that. And my dad did like a barbecue catering business. It was pretty small, but like. It was really awesome. Like he had a serious smoker. He ended up selling it to the guys at Smoke on the Water.
Oh, okay.
Like their smaller smoker.
Yeah.
So like he,
nice,
real serious, like really into barbecue. Really, I thought did amazing stuff.
So you kind of had like a little bit of a food around you growing up.
Yeah, definitely. Like and he would like, this was like way back in the day. He would do like turduckens and stuff, and I'd be like, he was like really like he cooked a lot of good food.
Yeah.
And so did my mom. My mom cooked a lot of like good stuff, but her stuff was more like. The like more traditional like kind of Buffalo family stuff like the mac and cheese with crushed saltines like that type of stuff. So
that's awesome.
So like that was kind of the background. But
so in Denver, I'm kind of gonna skip around here. But
cool.
Is that where you fell in love with beer, like craft beer?
No, that was probably. Well, I moved to New York to go to culinary school. And worked in some restaurants, and I ended up helping these guys at a place called Beer Table.
Okay.
And that was in Brooklyn, and I helped them like kind of like built the place. So like literally like built. It was tiny. It was probably like 3 times the size of this room, and
Jesus.
So it had like 18 seats. 3 tables and like a little 3-seat bar, and so I helped them build that place.
Okay.
And ended up like. They couldn't get a liquor license, and they were paying me like almost nothing at the time anyway. And they were like, "Now we can't pay you anything." And it was probably 4 months after that they actually got their liquor license.
Jesus.
But while I was working with them, like we did lots of beer tastings, and they like really like introduced me to beer. They're like, if you're gonna be the chef, we want you to like know about beer and like learn about beer. So we just like we're drinking beer every day and talking about beer and he had like more of a interest in European stuff. Spent a lot of time in Europe drinking and working for a distributor.
Nice.
So we drank tons of European beer, and he was like maybe not as psyched about American stuff.
Yeah.
But that was also like 5 years ago. So the American stuff wasn't as good as I think it is now.
Yeah. No, I mean that's definitely been a resurgence lately. But I kind of just assumed like Denver's like the craft beer capital.
Definitely.
I mean maybe like Portland now is like on the rise, but like Denver, I associate like
it's pretty serious there.
Yeah.
And when I went to Denver to like open a restaurant, that's when I continued.
Yeah, because that was after.
Yeah. So after I went to Boulder, I went to New York. I was in New York, and then I went back to Denver. And that's when you embraced
like the flying dog, or what is it? Not flying dog.
Yeah, Flying Dog was there, and they moved to Maryland. But like Avery is there, and
Great
Divide, yeah. Great Divide. Me and my wife lived like walking distance to Great Divide, which is great.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then the restaurant had a really good relationship with Avery, so we go down there a lot. We take like the whole staff to Avery, and Avery is like one of I think the best like breweries in the country. So spent a lot of time there and a lot of cool like events with them. So that's
where like the love was ingrained.
Yes, it definitely.
Because I see on Facebook, because we're Facebook friends.
Yes.
That you have a lot of beer pictures, and like I know it's good stuff because I don't recognize like some of it.
Right.
Like you have these pictures of like bottles and stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that is, but that looks so good.
Yeah, dude. I really pretty much only post that type of stuff because it's like if I was drinking like posted every Southern Tier beer I drank, it would probably be like, oh, this guy's posting another beer picture again. So I try to kind of just put the really cool stuff.
Yeah,
like this.
You get some. Yeah, this is fantastic, dude. Oh, I'm gonna post a picture with this podcast so people can see. But yeah,
nice.
I mean, how do you even like? Yeah, we're gonna jump around. But do you like? Do you like read a lot about beer, or do you follow like the beer?
Yeah, I definitely. I do read. I read some.
Your buddy has a really good blog.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is definitely. It's Buffalo Brewhound.
Buffalo Brewhound. Yes.
Yeah. And he lives pretty close to where I do, and our wives are best friends.
Nice.
So I see him a lot, and I talk to him a lot, and he spends most of his waking hours devoted to beer. So like,
God bless him.
Yeah. So so we drink a lot together, and he probably gets about 10 times the amount of quality stuff that I get.
Nice. That's pretty
including this.
Yeah.
So I probably get educated by him quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then just, other stuff, like just drinking a lot and like going to stores and seeing like, talking to the people at, Beer Merchant or...
Yeah, Beer Merchant's doing really good stuff. Yeah. And even consumers, they've really upped like the education of the employees. Right. Like I worked at Consumers 7 years ago.
The one at Orchard Park?
Yeah. And like, no, like I was there when they installed the growlers. Mm-hmm. And like none of us knew anything about beer.
You're just like,
so
what?
Like people would come in like who like really cared about beer and like, could you tell me some of this? I was like, well, it's a pale ale, so it's lighter than that one.
Right. Like, yeah, definitely.
But now like I go in there and there's people who could just like talk my face off about the beer that they have.
Yeah, I go to that one quite a bit. I mean, there's one in Hamburg, but it's not quite as good as, it doesn't have the growlers and doesn't have really the selection, but but they definitely some of the people in there for sure know their stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then Aurora Brew Works, they're not that far. I know, it's the best.
I love that.
They need to like just open like 10 more of those places.
I love the business model. I love like the people there. Like I love everything about that place.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, they're awesome. The business model, and it's just great. I mean, East Aurora is awesome, and now it's like just so
every time me and my wife go to East Aurora, we're like, all right, if we're gonna move to the burbs, like this is where
it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's only gonna get better. I mean, now that those businesses are so young, like Elm Street, which is awesome, right?
Jesus.
I mean, you just have like the best night ever at Elm Street and then Aurora Brew Works. Like, it's just great. And then you could just like sleep at the Hampton Inn there, and then like get up and go back to Elm Street, like. Like
I like that idea. I know. Just like a weekend getaway in a town that's 20 minutes away.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Me and my wife actually, that we got married in Orchard Park, and we ended up sleeping there, and like went up and like got up and got breakfast. And,
I think I saw a picture of you guys in front of Barbell.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah, we loved the Barbell. We went in there and like all the wedding party went in there that when we were outside of it and took a shot and like hung out in there for a little while before like our reception.
That's amazing.
So yeah,
that's
cool.
awesome.
The place is great.
All right, let's go back a little bit. So you're working in Denver. You get into the kitchen a little bit.
Yep.
When did you decide that you wanted to go to school?
So yeah, it was tough. That was a hard decision actually, because the guys in Denver were like, just stay here. And learn. You can just stay in the restaurant company and learn and work your way up. And
because there's basically like really two trains of thought.
Right.
It's like just work your ass off in a kitchen and move your way up, or go to school, which is really expensive.
Yes, I know. Yes, it is very expensive for sure. And it's just a tough call. Like I loved that restaurant. I love the restaurant company. But I was. I just like had this urge to go to what I thought was the best, spot. So it wasn't even necessarily about the school as it was about like being in New York.
Okay.
So it was really hard to like say I'm leaving, and like, because I love those guys, and I was like, I want to go to New York, and I definitely don't regret that.
No.
It ended up working out really well.
You went to the French Culinary
Institute. Okay, I went there, and
because that one's pretty intense, right? Like that's a lot of hands-on stuff.
Yeah, and it's short. It's a kind of a shorter program, but it's really I was in New York, and that was like really like the big thing for me, and it got me into restaurants, and it got me like I went to Danielle.
Oh wow!
Looking at maybe working there, and then I ended up like eating at the Spotted Pig like 2 days after I trailed at Danielle, and I was like, this is more the spot that I want to like would I want to own someday.
Yeah. So
I ended up like basically like stalking April at the time, who was not nearly like as famous as she is now. They'd only been open for about a year.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. So they had just like I think they just got their first Michelin star, and it was crazy because it was no one expected it, and it was so casual there that whatever like, but. So I like went in there like 5-6 times, and kept on asking for her, and finally like she's like come in and trail, and she was just awesome, and like really just super. Like I remember my first day, like I came in, and she's like, all right, took me out in the dining room, gave me this book, and it was Harold McGee's like on cooking, and then she's like just read this like whole chapter, and then she's like, we're gonna go and braise short ribs, and I was like, this is awesome, like, and she was just like super intense, and like, really like. She was great. So that worked out really well for me.
That's
I think
awesome.
that like going to a place like that and that style and you know, maybe not like for me getting like caught in like the Danielle like grind,
ultra fine dining.
Yeah, the super fine dining, and that like necessarily just like really isn't like what I have come to love about food.
Yeah.
And like the really like that like, you know, I don't know, it's something about the grind there and like the people. Like I was working with this guy from France, the guy from Spain. I was in between them, and they were just like, "Don't work here." They're like, "It's hell." And they were just like, I mean, I had known these guys for like 3 minutes, and they were just like, "Don't do it."
We've had like Ross Warhol down here, and he talked about like going to like Alinea, and like just like the same thing. Like he like was there for like less than a couple weeks, and he was like, it was the worst time of my life. Like it just seems like there's this like fine dining, like I don't know.
Yeah, there's like an attitude sometimes, and and I don't think it's everywhere. I think it's only some specific spots.
Some people who have like that older mentality of like a kitchen is where I beat the shit out of you.
right.
Like the head chef just like I expect like just like pounded into.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely like a mix of there's a lot of positives.
Oh God,
and if you can get out of it and still like be a normal person, like you know, like you're like it's great.
If you're not trained,
and you don't hate cooking after it, you know, like it's awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of like you know positives to it. I mean, like the actual technical skills that could be learned at Danielle, are incredible. You know, so,
you're technically making some of the best food in the world, like judged wise.
Yes, exactly. So I mean. It was incredible. But I think for me, it was when I saw like the spotted pig, I was like, man, that's really where I want to be. And like, these are this is the atmosphere I want to be in. And,
I mean, April Bloomfield is no,
she's amazing. I mean, she's like incredible.
We just went to when we were in New York City, we went to Salvation Taco. Her, I think her latest place that she opened up. It was so cool.
Really?
Like the place was awesome. Like I enjoyed everything about it.
That's cool. I've seen like the pig's ear, right? Like,
oh my God.
Yeah.
The pig's ear was like maybe the best thing I've had this year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And then they do like a lamb taco and like a
naan. The Moroccan. It's on a naan taco, so it's like a little tiny naan and then like Moroccan lamb.
That's smart. That's cool. I could see. I mean, that just makes total sense.
Yeah. And it was packed. I mean, like we walked in there and there's all these dudes in like suits, like just out of work. Like the place is like bumping. There's like ping pong tables in the back. Like I was like, this is the coolest place.
I mean, and again, Ken Friedman, who's like her partner.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he's brilliant too. Like he's you know like a lot of like the kind of the ideas and concepts I think like are his as well as April's, and you know like he does a lot of the design and things like that, and I mean as a team like they've definitely you know found a strategy that works.
Know? So how long were you at the Spotted Pig?
I was there for like a year.
Okay.
So I started like in culinary school. And then I worked there until we went through another like year cycle. And we kind of, for me, we were kind of going back into like the same like dishes in a way. And I was like, you know, maybe we would get there at like 4 to start our shift because we were closed at 2 every day. So 7 days a week closed at 2 a.m. So your shift was more like you set up your line and then you just like cooked, you know, on the line until 2 every day.
Wow.
But I felt like I wasn't getting a lot of maybe like work actually prepping and like learning like, you know, like butchery and things like that. So so I was like, I did like, you know, like that year, and I was like, this is awesome, but maybe I'll go learn something else. So that's why I went and worked for a butcher. After that for like 10 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I just like found this guy who was an instructor at my school, and he owned a butcher shop in the Upper West Side. Went there and you know, convinced him to hire me, and it was crazy. I mean, that whole experience of working at a butcher, it was nuts. Like it was like he was really cool, but like he was crazy, and everyone, it was just like really like, you know, just like it was kind of what you would expect. I guess,
feel like
from
that
a butcher,
like that schedule has got to be like the complete opposite.
It is, 7 a.m. you have to be there, you know, like 7 to 5, I think it was 7 to 6.
Jeez.
But it was like, you know, I learned a lot from him.
Oh God.
He was like, he was a butcher at Blue Hill for a while, and like he was old, like he was probably like late 40s at the time, and you know, just like a total master. I mean, these guys were bringing in like cows, like quarter cows, and just hanging them up and like, you know, breaking them down. And so spent a lot of time, you know, learning, you know, how to follow the fat and not, you know, cut flesh. And like he would just have me do that for days. He would just be like, break this, you know, these scraps down, but I want them broken down all into individual muscles. And like, so he was cool. Like, it was, he definitely like was paying me for stuff that he probably didn't need to pay me for. He's just like, he was teaching me. So it was cool. I would run, I would deliver. I would drove around and delivered food, and like,
that's awesome.
I delivered bacon to Kevin Bacon's house once, which I thought was super cool. Kevin Bacon. Yeah, I did that, so that was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so like, it was cool. That was a really good experience, and a lot of cool.
I mean, as you're living in New York City, were you trying to explore as much of the scene as possible?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, because I mean, I feel like I don't know how I don't know too much about Denver's scene, but I feel obviously New York is like these places. So if you want to try anything, like you name the cuisine, they have it there. Like I didn't know if I feel like if I lived in New York, I would have just like thrown myself into it and be like, I have to try as much as I possibly can.
I definitely I did that. I mean, that's all I did. Like I would go to places every morning before I worked, go to places at night afterwards. My day off, I would just get up and just walk, and I would just go to I'd have lists of, whatever was reviewed maybe by the New York Times that week, or, anything I read about. Like I would just go by myself, and, Kitchen Arts and Letters, which is a cookbook store on the Upper East Side.
Yeah.
I would go there every morning I was off, I'd go up there and see what was new, read some cookbooks, sometimes buy stuff if I had money, and I mean, I would just and then I would just either walk down or have another spot, whether it was a coffee shop or a bar or a restaurant, I would just hit spots, and then with friends and stuff like that, and just go to, I did that, probably more than most people, because people would be like, what do you, of course you were there, I'd be like, oh yeah, I went there, and they're like, yeah, of course you did, it was kind of that thing. So
nice.
I definitely spent all of my time doing that.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so
I mean, that stuff's invaluable though. I mean, you're really building your palate,
right. Yeah, I mean, I really that was what, I mean, it's tough to pay the student loans for school, but I definitely don't regret it because of the experience of being in New York, and and meeting people and seeing the different restaurants. It's not only just about the food; it's about everything that goes into a restaurant, the service and decor and the style, and so experiencing that was, I think, invaluable for sure. For sure.
I mean, you guys at Park, we've had when we had James on here, he talked about the mentorship and stuff like that.
Right.
That's a huge part of Park.
Definitely.
Is you guys have a shitload of young kids in there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, do a lot of them come up to you and talk about school versus not school? Do you have a hard time being just go to school, or I
mean, I don't always. I think it's kind of a case by case. Most of the time, the first thing I say is, if you're not paying for it, definitely go. I mean,
if your parents are footing the bill.
If your parents are paying the bill, then it's certainly it's great.
Mm-hmm.
If you're paying the bill, it's much more of a risk,
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the people that I went to school with, my class was only about 25 people.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 4 maybe are cooking still.
Shit.
And some of them are maybe in other
foodish
food sort of, and some of them don't cook at all and aren't in food at all.
That's insane.
I just think of that.
I mean, these aren't cheap schools.
No, none of them are. I mean, no culinary school.
I mean, CIA, FCI, those are all those are all 50 G's.
Man. Right. And some of them are more. And if you do long programs at CIA, you're in the hundreds.
Yeah, Jesus.
And then
I mean, I feel like having a kid come up to, because right now being a chef is cool. It's way cooler now than it ever has been.
Definitely.
So I feel younger kids coming up, a 19-year-old who he's I read Kitchen Confidential.
Yeah, definitely.
There's this foodie culture where it's a rock star thing. So, but you gotta kind of be
smarter.
Are you really sure you want to do this, man?
I mean, I know. I mean, that's the thing. It's whether or not you have the determination to really continuously put in the effort, over years and years to be better than everyone else. I mean, that's really, really, you need to be better than a lot of other people. To be successful.
Yeah.
So, is that something that you want to do? And then figuring out whether or not you can pay it and all that stuff. But I often recommend. I mean, if I have. I know it's not as easy as it sounds, but I'm go to Europe and just take that money and just go to Europe and and figure out a way to get into a restaurant to stage,
just bag
and work for free.
Yeah.
I mean, and I feel I feel like that can be done, especially if you have some basic skills. Work in a restaurant, work at like somewhere like Park, and get your basic skills down. Take a quarter of the money you would spend on culinary school and go and just sit outside. Like everyone says these stories of like these people that just sit outside these restaurants for days and like with their knife kit and their whites, and like eventually someone will let them in, and I would, like, I feel like anyone, like if they saw this kid day after day just sitting out there and he put that kind of like, I guess like determination.
You sit through the rain.
Yes, exactly. You do that. And I think that really, and it's an amazing restaurant. And like, put in 3 years. Yeah. You spend like $5,000 or something.
I know
that
you got to know there's some kid who did that at Al Bulli. Like there's some kid who just like,
I know,
like slept in a sleeping bag or some shit.
James would always talk about doing that type of stuff, like going to like sleep in the parking lot and things like that. But I mean, I think there's other avenues you can take. That maybe would be more beneficial. It's just hard to say, but there's a lot of people that went to culinary school and are very successful in life and financially, and like are happy and all those things. So it's definitely a mix. It's just, and I don't regret it. So
I mean, it seems like it. You made the right career path.
Right, but
So after you went to New York, you went back to Denver, right?
Right. I came back to Hamburg.
You did?
Yeah, and I worked at Daniel's for almost a year there. Yep. So I went. Came back.
I need to still go there. It's like one of those places on my list. I'm like pissed that I haven't eaten there.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Like they've been, like they're just like doing a great job for a long time. I think it's really good. Like someone to like look up to. Someone who's, and Dan cooks on the line every night. Wow. It's not like he does not take days off. I think he's might have missed like 1 or 2 nights in like the 23-ish years that like they've been open. So it's pretty incredible.
And that's where Ross came up through
too. Yeah, Ross started his dishwasher there.
Yeah.
So I actually live now, like I can like see it from my bedroom.
Oh really?
Yeah, like right there. So so came back and I was like kind of had like an idea that we're going to do this restaurant in Denver, and I had been living in New York City for like 3 years, and I went to Europe for 3 months.
To London, right?
Yeah, I went to London. Then I traveled basically through like all of like Western Europe.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so like that was great. I mean, I
kind of like jumping from kitchen to kitchen, or
just in London really was like where I spent most of the time in the kitchens.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to St. John.
Yeah.
And that was like
pretty legit.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really great. Like, that was like, and that was a really good experience too, because, you hear it's famous everywhere. St. John is like, super famous, and like you go in there and it's just like everyone's so nice, and like you like walk in and everyone's just like they're kind of like they're all prepping, but they're all like talking about music and films, and like, and they're just like really friendly to me, and like it was just like a great environment.
Nice.
But they're really serious about the food, and it's beautiful and very simple, and like there's definitely like tons of respect for the place.
Yeah.
So it was a really good experience. I was there for a week, and they had me like working the line and like working like stations with guys, and it was like a really like eye-opening experience. More of like just like how a restaurant can be in general.
Yeah.
How like your life and your interactions with the customers like can be, and like that.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I take a lot from a lot of spots that I've been, like like what people's personal lives are like, and like how they make a place special compared to maybe someone like another spot. What makes like someone like the Spotted Pig or St. John, which do sort of more simple food, and it's not like fancy and kind of flashy.
Yeah.
What makes
and
those
it's not
places
necessarily like prefix menus,
right,
and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right. And then, but what makes those places stand out? Over there's a lot of places there.
Why do they have Michelin stars?
Right. Yeah, they both do. Right.
Yeah.
They both do, and they're probably like the anomaly on like the Michelin lists of places that are so much more casual, I guess.
Yeah, I look for those places.
Right.
When me and Allie are going to New York City, I'm like, all right, what Michelin starred restaurants can I afford to go to? And so that's why like this year we went to like Minetta Tavern.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I can do that.
Right. Yeah, and that's cool, right? I mean, that's like a whole nother. I mean, it's really the focus on quality. That I think like separates like those places. I mean, they like are very strict on not kind of like compromising. You know, like it needs to be the best.
Yeah.
And that was the thing with the spotted pig. It was just always like it had to be the best. It had to be perfect, or it was never going to be served. Didn't matter if people waited, 45 minutes, an hour. Like it was like if it's not perfect, we're all starting over.
Yeah.
And we're all going to put all the food up on a ticket at the same time. Yeah. And if one of the things isn't perfect, we're throwing it all out, and we are going to put it all up again perfect. And then you only need a couple of times for you're the one that's not doing it right to like really not make those mistakes again.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, in St. John, like it was just a really like another one of those like experiences like that, like where it was like
nice.
It just people really cared about the craft of cooking, and that was something I thought was
that's
cool.
Pretty good to be around that environment.
Yeah.
I mean it helps probably professionally,
right?
and everything, or to solidify that, like, yeah, I want to do this. Like,
right.
At that point, you're like, okay, good, I made the right decision. I like this. Like,
Definitely. And then after that, I went to the River Cafe, which is where April worked for a long time.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like it's Italian, but it's very similar philosophies. They were like, I mean, they would hardly serve anything that was served at lunch at dinner.
Oh, really?
It was like that, like focused on like freshness and
yeah.
Quality, and I mean it was incredible. Like it was just like, and that was also another great like work environment where these people were like so happy to be there. They like never left. Like it was the cooks that cook there are like have been there forever.
Really,
like it's not like. I mean, kind of like how Chez Panisse is, like how like the people that cook there for 13, 15 years.
Oh yeah.
And it's like that. Like people have been there forever, and
nice.
It's just like it just feels like what like cooking should be about. I mean, it's like it's bright in the kitchen. There's a garden right outside the door. Everyone's happy. It's just really great, and like
nice.
I hope I can like recreate that someday. So
yeah.
For sure.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Right.
Yeah. So nice.
Yeah.
So after London or
right.
in your travels,
yes,
come back to Hamburg for a brief period, but then you moved out to Denver to start a restaurant.
Right. So when I was in culinary school, a guy that was in my class, Nelson Perkins, we became friends in the first week, and probably within a month, I think it was, we were sitting at like a chef demonstration, and he's like, we could do this. And I was like, I was like, oh yeah, probably we could do that. And he was like, we should talk about it. And then next thing you know, like he's like, let's work on a business plan. Nice. And we put together, I probably did like an 80-page business plan. He did a separate one.
Wow.
And then he took them and combined the business plans.
Damn.
Mostly like towards his stuff, because he was really I mean, he was kind of in the position to, like, he had sold his businesses in Colorado and moved to New York to go to culinary school with his family, and like, he was like, I'm going to go to culinary school so I can open a restaurant like immediately.
Yeah.
And he was awesome. Like, so I got really lucky to become friends with him early. And so when I moved back to Buffalo, we had always talked about doing this, and I knew it was eventually going to happen. And then I was working at Daniel's, and he just called, and he was like, I found a space. He's like, you need to come to Denver. And I was like, wow.
It's pretty short notice.
Yeah, I was like, man, I was like so stressful. Like, I was dating my wife at the time, and we were just like, I told her about it, and we were like, what should we do? Do we go? Like, what do we do? Like,
were you like the conversation's like, do you care if we just move like next week to Denver?
Yeah. It was like, and we just decided that it was a good idea, and we did it. So we had him find us a place. That's and it was awesome. right across the street.
Nice.
It was probably closer than the Pink is from here. It was like right there, and like he found us a place, and we just moved out there, like rented a truck and drove out there and moved into our place, and spent like 4 or 5 months working on the opening, hiring people. We did the build out, the design.
How was like that process of like literally from the like ground up?
It was cool. I mean, it was definitely, the building was like a shell, it was like a warehouse. It's probably the coolest part of like of Denver,
Oh, yeah?
which I think makes it like the coolest part of the country. Really, like it was like really awesome. The neighborhood is called the Highlands, and it's just great there.
Yeah,
I mean, like there's so many restaurants, and
I screwed up. My wife, her uncle lived in Denver for like 4 years. We didn't visit once.
Oh, really?
And like I was like looking through like restaurants. I was like, God damn it! Like,
yeah, it's great. It was really great. The food community there is awesome. I mean,
yeah,
it's wonderful. But yeah. Anyway, so we worked on the opening, and it went really, I think, smoothly for like, you know, as far as a restaurant opening goes. You know, like
this can be chaotic.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there could be ups and downs, and there wasn't a ton of, you know, I guess like low points for it. I mean, we just pushed through, and we did our hiring, and we, you know, talked to, you know, our architects and did the meetings, and you know, I learned basically like the whole like kind of process of, I guess, opening a restaurant with him, who he was really experienced with finance and you know, in business in general, and so it was great. It was, like I said, like really lucky to be with him, you know, having him kind of like show me how to do things and more on kind of his money instead of mine someday. So, you know, which is great. I mean,
if you can learn on somebody else.
Right. I mean, it was really like that, but like, you know, it was, I worked hard, but, but he, you know, it was his kind of dream, like the restaurant. And, and I definitely helped out and had like a lot of ideas as far as, you know, like how it ended up. But, but he has really good taste also. So like the restaurant was beautiful.
Nice. I was actually just looking at the website like right before you came here. Like it looks really cool.
It's really nice. Like, I mean, the space is gorgeous. His sister-in-law designed it, and and you know, beautiful furnishings. I mean, like the finishes are gorgeous. Like it's a really nice restaurant, and great bar program. I think like the bar program is unbelievable, really. Like awesome beer, incredible cocktails. You know, small. It's probably about 12 seats, maybe like 13 seats. So tiny bar, but really good, like, you know, focused program. So yeah, we got that. Like we got it open. We had some soft openings, and some of them, like one was incredibly difficult, and the other one was like pretty smooth. The second one, I think, was actually the one that was really hard.
Oh, really?
Where we like, what are we? This is unbelievable. You know, like we just like crumbled. But we had a beautiful kitchen. Like we had a really nice. Like,
was this like your first like?
My first like real, like I was the chef de cuisine.
Yeah.
And it was really my first, like really running the show.
Like you were in charge of some serious stuff. Him, Nelson, we both were in charge, but you know, it was us, you know, it was like, and he had never done it either. So like, it was both of us like doing it. And it was really cool. I mean, it ended up like working out, you know, eventually, but it took a little while to figure it out. And, you know, I almost felt like I had to fake it before like you could like really be it, you know, like we just like didn't know what to do, but we had to do it, so we just did it. And then eventually we were like, this is how you do it. And I think that's pretty common. You just kind of tell yourself like, we can do this, and then just like
and then just do it. I think like a lot of ventures are like that. You know, a lot of things people try to do, just like I'm going to do this, and then you figure it out as it goes, and then you become like good at it.
It's pretty much Buffalo Eats. Like when we started in 2009, I was like, I can do a food blog, and like looking through it, I'm like, holy shit, like we were just horrible. Right. But like finally we got like our footing and everything. But you kind of just have to
find your style and like you know, like that type of stuff. That's it's very similar. So like I think one of the best things about like that was like the staff that we hired was really experienced, you know, like a lot of like young cooks that had like crazy like, you know, restaurant experience. The talent pool, I guess, in Denver is either we got really lucky or it's amazing because we had just like awesome cooks from that had worked all over the country, and like it was really like hired a great crew. So, and then in front of the house too, we got a lot of like really like quality people.
Nice.
So it was great. And then
so what brought you back here then?
So we had a great, like I like, you know, had a great time there, and like, you know, really enjoyed my time there. But me and my wife were like, you know, we're gonna go back to Buffalo someday. Do we stick it out? That was
always in the plans.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like for me, I always felt like my life was going on in Buffalo, and I was like somewhere else doing like something that was like, you know, different than where my life really was.
Yeah.
It's weird to like, kind of sounds weird, but it's just always how I felt. Like, like,
I mean, family and everything.
Yeah,
like that.
My family, my friends. I have like a lot of close friends. That most of them live here, you know, and they like, you know, see each other, and now a lot of them have kids, and we do a lot of like, you know, like stuff with their kids, and everyone like hangs out together still.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So I got a big group of friends here that like, you know, I talk to a lot, and I would always talk to wherever I was, and I was just like, man, like this is great, but like I feel like my life is really going on there. I know I'm going to go back, and I, you know, love Buffalo, so I wanted to like, you know, kind of like bring the experience that I had gained back and like do something that could be cool for people in Buffalo, because you know there's a lot of like awesome spots and there definitely could be more in, you know, like just continue to.
Well, we've had like Steve Gedra down here, and we had Ed Forrester, and like those are two examples of people who like went out, did their thing in like other cities, but like knew they eventually wanted to come back to Buffalo.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's maybe a trend that's happening. Where,
right.
Like,
I hope
like,
it continues.
Because like it, like, do you think like it was necessary for you to go out and get your experience everywhere else before you came back to Buffalo to bring it?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think it's great for anyone who can, you know, travel, especially like the travel of it, but working in other restaurants and seeing, you know, just it makes you. It gives you a better chance to like figure out who you are. You know, you get to see so much, and then what you take out of it is unique, probably to like what someone else would take out of it. So, so I think that was, you know, is just something that is good for really anyone. You know, like just
sense.
Get out, do something different, see some more stuff, even if it's not necessarily like living other places. The travel and you know, like you mean, there's places you can drive to so many great spots living in Buffalo. But yeah, I mean, getting out to the restaurants, it definitely has benefited me, I think.
I think also like when you were coming up through the area, like maybe there weren't enough restaurants that were about educating the scene here. Like at the time, like Park wasn't what it is. I mean, Mike A didn't have 3 restaurants to you know bring up a bunch of cooks and stuff like that. Like, you know, Steve wasn't there. Like Bruce Wazela. Like so, like all these people who are all about upping the local scene, like that vibe wasn't here at that time.
And I think that almost like a lot of the country, you know, maybe it happened before, you know, maybe like it did in Buffalo, but you know, that wasn't always everywhere, like where it was about like the community, you know, and about the food community and about like
sharing ideas.
And I mean, like it even bigger than like just cooks, but like it's just everything, like the, you know, like what we're doing here, you know, none of that stuff was was around.
Foodie podcast.
Yeah, it's great, you know, like it is. So it's like it just like the whole thing was like going to Toronto, like that was like I felt like it was just such a great experience to share with all the people, like all the different chefs and food writers and like, you know, everything that like that type of stuff.
I was so pissed I didn't go.
next year for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think that was like you know, I think that stuff's great, and yeah, going to other places and other cities is advantageous for sure.
So when you came back, was Park the first place you went to?
I actually went to Europa. It was the first.
Really?
First place. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I went there. Bruce was still working there, and dropped off a resume. Came back and spent like a few days. I think must have been like 4, 5, 6-ish. Like, you know, over a couple weeks. Just like would come and like hang out with them, and they didn't have like any positions. You know, it was like only
it's
Bruce,
a tiny
Steve,
kitchen.
And you know, a couple other guys. And it was mainly Bruce, Steve, Ellen. And you know, some prep guys in the morning and stuff like that. So I would just go and like help them out with service and just hang out and you know, see what they were doing. But I needed a job, and he's like, you should call James at Park. He's like, he's looking for a sous chef, and so called him. Went up and like, you know, met with him and did a whole like, you know, bench test thing and and cooked for him and got the job there. So
wow,
yeah, it's been about 2 years.
Were you at all hesitant about going to a country club?
Yeah, I think I was a little bit. I didn't really know much about like you know, country clubs. I remember at like Steve like saying, "Yeah, you should go talk to James," and he's like, and I was like, he's at Park Country Club. I was like, is it legit? And he's like, yeah, I think it's pretty legit, you know. And so I knew him, and like I mean I kind of knew him, and and it was like, yeah, I trust him, and I went up there and. You know, and I walked in with James, and he was just like, you know, just like flying around, and there's, you know, liquid nitrogen, like.
As soon as you see the liquid nitrogen, you're like, all right, this is legit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, and then all sorts of stuff, and I remember him just being like, yeah, pretty much anything that's like really awesome in like food, we try to do here, you know. So like, you know, I mean, tons of good product and a lot of, you know, I mean, it's such a big operation. It's not like a restaurant where you come in, you focus on your station, and then you cook dinner and you leave. It's just like there's so much more to it. So a lot of cool like management, stuff you learn a bit more about like managing big operations. So it's definitely like it worked out really well, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. So
has it affected the way you look at like the whole mentorship aspect? Because there's so many young kids in there. Like
that was something I really probably started in Denver that I like found like that I really enjoyed. Yeah. Cooks that that were really into cooking, but just needed like the refinement and like the to learn it. And I think like people that that really want to learn and that are like reading outside of work and going to restaurants and coming and we're talking together. So I mean, with the mentorship thing, it's great because I'm learning a ton too. Like I think about like any 18-year-old cook. Like I feel like there is a different perspective, or like they're saying, "Why are you doing this?" or "Why are we doing it this way?" Yeah. And it's maybe sometimes it makes you think like, "Yeah, I don't know, why are we doing it this way?" Like does it need to be this way, or is there a better way? And and then I'm like teaching them things that I can clearly see will benefit them. So it's pretty much a win-win.
Nice.
It's very it's great. Like it's great awesome. to have people that want to learn. When you're in that environment, and that's not everywhere. Like you go places and it's like this is a job, and I always like worry about people. I was telling them like, if this is a job, don't do it. I'm like, do not. This is not the job. This is a job. Like anything. Pretty much would be better, like if it's just a job. Yeah. But if it's not just a job,
if you want to make money fast, like any
right, field, like maybe should do anything that would be like better. Is for your like life, like
go learn to be a plumber, man.
Yeah.
Or something.
That would be great. Like, like it's not even like about money. It's just like whether or not like if you really enjoy cooking,
exactly,
then it's a great like fun life, and you really enjoy when you're at work, and that's something that like not everyone can have is like where I just enjoy like being at work, and that like that's one of the like benefits of it. So but like if it's like I don't like cooking, but I'm going to like cook it because it's like for some money, like what are you doing? This is like anything you could do. Maybe be homeless. I'm not really sure. So
oh man.
So yeah, I think that like that's definitely. It's pretty funny.
So I guess we can wrap it up. I mean, what do you envision going forward? I mean, do you have plans? Like, do you have ambitions to open a restaurant?
Do, yeah, definitely. I've me and my wife have been working on it since before we really moved back.
Really?
As far as like getting a business plan together and hoping to do something in Buffalo, like that's definitely that's something we're working
on.
The
goal in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably hopefully near future.
Nice.
I mean, we're definitely like. We're looking at a lot of places, and
that's awesome.
And it just depends on the right, you'll just know, and when it works out, it works out. So I'm
all for it. Like, as more exciting new restaurants in here, I am all for it.
That's great.
So.
Yeah. No, I agree for sure. So yeah, I mean, like in the future, that's my goal, and nice. I really want to do something that I hope people will love, and I'll enjoy like doing, and it'll be like the perfect like situation. So
nice, man.
Yeah,
nice. Well, Brad, thank you so much for coming down here.
Yeah,
this is really fun, and this is delicious beer that you brought.
Awesome.
I really appreciate it. But
cool.
But thanks a lot, man.
All right, thanks.